You're listening to the iterators of the Imperium.
Hi, I'm Miss, and I'm here with my co-host Ryan, and you're listening to Season Quinqui of the Iterators of the Imperium podcast, the podcast in which Ryan is the expert on Warhammer 40K, and I'm an intermediate, trying to learn about the Warhammer universe. And in this season, as some of our regular followers would probably know, we are talking about the Orks. And, well, a lot of stuff has been happening recently, so why don't you take the wheel, Rayman?
Alright. So as you'll probably remember from last time, we were talking about the battle for Rynn's world.
Yes.
And we kind of left off with the Crimson Fists accidentally destroying their own fortress monastery and the vast majority of their own forces in the process by accidentally missiling Arx Tyranus. So that's good fun. So as you might remember, that also caused the explosion killed a lot of the librarians, but also the resounding kind of death echo of that killed a few more of them and fucked up a lot of the ones that did survive. Also killed a lot of orc shamans in the process.
Yeah.
So, not a great time to be a Crimson Fist, or any human on this planet, to be fair. But the final thing that we mentioned last time was actually that a few people did survive the explosion of Arx Tyranus, including, unfortunately for the Orcs, Chapter Master Pedro Cantor. Yeah, it was the Space Marines that had been on the battlements at the time. Some of them had been thrown from the battlements in the blast and survived. Only like 16 of them actually survived in total, but you know, it's still better than none. So there's that.
Yeah.
So we're going to be starting off today by looking at this whole Pedro Cantor situation a little bit. So we're going to be jumping back and forward in little pieces between him and or between his guys and New Rynn City, which is the now last standing bastion of resistance. So when Pedro Cantor kind of woke up lying face down in the snow, he woke up because someone was pulling at his gauntlet. And when he looked over, there was a Gretchen trying to steal the storm bolter off of his gauntlet. So that's what woke him up, was a guy trying to steal his gun.
That's just lovely. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, fuck. Backhand down the mountain.
I did.
Yeah. So, obviously, Cantor murders him pretty quickly, and then he kind of rounds up those remaining Marines that are still alive. He kind of wanders through the rubble a bit and explores a little bit and finds those that are still alive, including one of his captains, who is like a good friend of his. And then they start making their way down the mountain, right? Because obviously they're on their own now. They need to head towards New Rynn City, or they're gonna die. Because doesn't matter what happens, 16 Space Marines are not surviving against Snagrod in the mountains.
Nah.
It's just not gonna happen. But luckily, because obviously New Rynn City held the vast majority of the planet's population, or it was the largest population center, held 8% of the planet's total human population, they had put a section of their Space Marines into New Rynn City to protect it, because they knew it was going to be attacked, right? It does no good to survive, to protect your planet from the assault if everything is totally flattened except for the Space Marine monastery, right? So they put a bunch of them into New Rynn City to protect that place as well. So Cantor and his boys decide, we'll head down there, we'll link up with him, and we'll see what we can do about this orc problem. So the vast majority of what we're going to talk about from now on is going to be based around New Rynn City. Right?
Ah.
There is a side storyline about Cantor and his boys heading back in, which we will discuss little bits of, but I feel like it makes more sense to discuss the ins and outs of their one in a season where we're looking at, the Crimson Fist side of things. So,
yeah.
I'll give you a little bits of it, because some of it's just really interesting, some of it's really good for story pacing and stuff like that. So, we'll go back and forth a little bit, but I'll make sure to be clear about it.
Yeah.
So, the first real kind of, like, inroads that were made to the Orc assault into New Rynn City was actually one of their dropships, one of their like scrap planes full of troops that crashed into a manufacturing building.
Okay.
And the few orcs that survived the crash basically just took over a factory.
Okay.
I mean, they didn't have many other options. They crashed into a manufacturing district. And they're like, well, I survived the plane crash, so what do I do now? I'll just go into this building, I guess.
Oh, God.
Like, they didn't start, like, manufacturing stuff. They didn't just walk in and be like, I better get to work. Start pumping out horseshoes or something. No, they just, like, took over, just, you know, claimed it as their defense fortress for the time being.
Yeah.
So, this is an issue for the Crimson Fists, because the orcs are just gunning them down from the windows and stuff, right? Like, the Space Marines have to assault this building from the open. There is no way to, like, sneak in, really. So they kind of take a bit of gunfire in the process. And they were trying to figure out how to handle this situation. Like, do we just blow up the building? Like, do we demo charge a wall and burst in and gun them all down? What do we do? What's the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out the right way to go about it, because, like, to demo charge a wall, they have to get up to the wall without getting gunned down by the orcs first, right? Luckily, the answer comes in a 40-ton... the answer comes in the form of a 40-ton war machine called Brother Jaren.
Oh. Wait,
Yeah.
Jiren?
Yeah, Jaren.
Like from Dragon Ball?
Kinda, yes.
Hey.
This is one of the Crimson Fist dreadnoughts. So he just turned up. Well, they were having like all the leaders are around trying to plan out a strategic attack and how to get into this building. And Jaren just turns up out of nowhere and is like, "If you need a hole in that wall, I'll fucking make one. Don't you worry."
Oh, God.
Yeah. So essentially what they did is they used Jaren as, you know, heavy firepower and as cover at the same time to get up to the building. Then the Space Marines circled the building from every side, ready to fucking burst in and gun them down. And then Jaren just destroyed a wall, and they all just flooded in.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck your defenses. Fuck your factory. We've got a fucking dreadnought, man. So suddenly there's like smoke and dust and everything flying everywhere, and then a ton of Space Marines all just bail in and gun all the orcs down.
Well,
I should actually throw up the map of this again for you. Just for...
also for the viewers, for the people watching.
Yes. So,
Yes.
this was like the first real attack inside the city. Otherwise it had been at like the outer walls that had been fighting a lot. But this was the first time the orcs had really gotten inside. And it took a bit of doing to get rid of them, you know, because they hold it up quite fast. But they did eventually, you know, slaughter every one of the orcs inside there, unfortunately. Yeah.
We are on the Orc side, for the people
We
that know.
are. The benefit, though, is that by the time that they had finished fucking around with the orcs inside this factory, when they get back outside and they're like, alright, let's get back to what we were doing. Come on, back to work, lads. Chop, chop. They get a report that the orcs have breached one of the walls at the commercial district where the markets and everything are.
Yeah.
The city's sectioned off into different outer districts with big walls between them all and stuff, just so you know. So if you break into one section, it doesn't mean you have full reign of like the outer district. You still have to go district to district. So way at the other side of the city, the commercial district, where all the shops and everything are, has just had its walls blown down because Snagrod has realised that rather than trying to run a tank up to the walls to blast them down or get like a big robot in or anything, it's faster to just crash a plane into them. So he just has his planes dive bomb the walls.
I mean, if it works, Ryan, it's not stupid.
That's it. If it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. That should be the title of this whole fucking season.
That should be the title of, like, at least today's episode.
At least today's episode.
I think so. I think it's deserved.
Yeah. So yeah, Snagra wasn't being daft. He was just using his ships as battering rams to destroy the defences. And obviously this causes total and utter carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this then causes a situation where you've got all the Crimson Fists and the guard and everything trying to defend this now breach in their walls, where Orks keep trying to pour in. And like they send over like Devastator squads with heavy weapons, so they got like Space Marines coming in with Gatling cannons to keep the numbers down and everything like that. But that's the issue at New Rynn City right now, is that there are now Orks just walking through a hole in the wall. So we're going to step away a little bit. We're going to step away over towards Arx Tyranus, right? So this is part of Cantor's mob when they're heading back down towards New Rynn City, right? They find like a little settlement, a little agricultural settlement, like a farm kind of thing. And they find basically like 30 Orks, all with like motorbikes, so bikers, right? That have ransacked this place, but they've left their bikes for the time being to ransack the farm and, kill all the general populace, right? Pretty typical Orc stuff. It's what we do. And when the Space Marines find this place, there are like a little family of humans left alive, cowering in fear, because, well, basically because they've watched all their friends and family and neighbours be murdered by Orks.
That'll do it.
But yeah, I mean, I'd be cowering. Specifically, when they find these humans that are still alive, it appears to be like a mother and father and 2 kids. And the mother is like shielding the children, and the dad's in front of them with like a stick trying to fend off an Orc war boss.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not going to work very well.
That's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. So the boss that's leading this squad is this giant dude in like a yellow leather coat. Which I don't know what you make yellow leather out of, but I'm worried. Maybe it's Tyranid leather? I'm not really sure. That's got to be a thing, hasn't it? Surely someone's made leather out of a dead Tyranid at some point. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah.
So this dude was like, this giant Orc war boss was enjoying tormenting the humans, because, what else are you going to do, right? And he's like, as this human's trying to fend them off with a stick, the war boss just kind of starts bearing down on top of him, and then slaps the stick out of his hand, picks up the dad, and starts to hold him above the fire.
Oh. Nice.
For the sake of getting you invested in the story, the dad's name is Aldrin. This random human, his name is Aldrin. He's trying to protect his family. He's a good guy. It's totally irrelevant to the story, but just remembered his name, so I thought maybe it'll tie in a bit better. Anyway,
I feel like this is the equivalent of don't get attached to the chicken, don't name it, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Right. So, Aldrin gets picked up by the head and dangled over a bonfire, right?
Oh no, not Aldrin.
Right, yeah, so you get it. I knew it would work.
I'm attached now.
Yeah. Oh, God. So, as he's, like, dangling him over the fire and Aldrin screaming in pain and what, usual being dangled over a fire stuff.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, this whole band of Crimson Fists starts screaming and charge out from around them. Start gunning down Orcs left, right, and centre. The next thing, their bikes all explode and burst into flames. There's a big trail of fire left around the camp and everything. The Crimson Fists sabotaged... The Crimson Fists had seen this going on, and then sabotaged their bikes to leak fuel, and then encircled the camp. So Aldrin died while they got set up into position, and then they ignited the fuel, so it circled the big area with fire, so the Orcs couldn't run away, and they all just charged in and fucked up all the Orcs. But it's funny because as they all scream and charge in, the leader just blows the head clean off the Orc war boss, who drops Aldrin into the fire. Not the smartest move. Well, luckily, Aldred had been dead for a bit by this point, because, he was on fire and being cooked alive.
Yeah. Like
So,
I said, smells of chicken.
It was a bit too late to worry about Aldrin by that point, but,
Yeah.
Funnily enough, there's an interesting side story goes on here, right? Because they kill all the orcs, but the mother and the two children are still alive, and they can't just leave them in the tattered remains of their home, so they have to take them with them. So Pedro Cantor and his 16 surviving space marines desperately try to fight their way back to the capital city to aid in the defense of this planet so it doesn't fall to the greenskin horde of Snagrod, end up babysitting a woman and her two children. There is a point where there are space marines carrying these children down the mountain.
Lovely. Or something.
It's quite funny, actually, that's how sidetracked they get.
I mean, a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. Further on, they find more humans that are being harassed by orcs and save them as well. It turns out it's like a pilgrimage. It was this local priest guy. He wasn't even a priest. He was a farmer who just really loved the god emperor and had kind of became a local priest just to his neighbors and stuff and their little commune. Because he just remembered his dad telling him all these stories about the emperor, so he told them, spread the good word, as it were. So he just, once the orcs, the news of the orcs came down, all the people were like, mate, you're the closest thing we've got to a priest. We want you to take us on a pilgrimage to this shrine away up in the mountains to beg for help from the god. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then they got ransacked by orcs and put in cages. So there becomes a period where Pedro Cantor and his handful of space marines are babysitting a mother, her children, and 30 random pilgrims. They just keep gaining useless weirdos.
And you know why? It's because the emperor didn't like that religious stuff in the first place.
That's what you get. If you follow the imperial cult, you will quickly find that anything you do following it will only be in your worst interest.
It really will.
Yeah.
Good
Unless you're somehow related to one of the saints, because, the religion is a lie, but the saints are very real. Don't fuck with Celestine, is the gist.
Yeah, she got wings and shit.
Yeah, although I've recently learned Sabbat also had wings, and she's also cool as shit. Saint Sabbat. Oh. Yeah. We will have to talk about Saint Sabbat at some point, because she is
at some point
awesome.
Episode.
But we've got Orcs to talk about right now.
Yes, Ryan.
So,
sorry.
Back at New Rynn City, the Orcs obviously continue to throw themselves at the walls, defenses and defenders in New Rynn City. They only really gave the humans a break at nighttime, because I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but orcs have really bad eyesight.
Oh, yeah, you have mentioned that before.
Yeah, so at nighttime, with the sheer number of orcs there are, there's no benefit to them really throwing their full might at the walls, because they're just as likely to shoot one of their allies in the back of the head as they are to shoot at the enemy. Because their eyesight is that bad in the dark.
But I was thinking, Ryan, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, what if the orc said to itself, I really believe that I can see. Could they see? Do you know what I mean?
If they really believed, yeah.
If they really
If they really believed they could have heat vision built into their eyes.
I love him. I love him.
Gotta love orcs. So yeah, at nighttime, the humans got a bit of a reprieve, for lack of a better term. They got a bit of time to kind of recuperate, right? Because the orcs weren't gonna waste their whole front line by shooting them in the back of the head. That'd be silly.
Yeah.
But any areas that the orcs tried to push into the city, they were really quickly met by squads of Crimson Fists on jet bikes. So obviously there is one major breach in the walls in the commercial district, right? We know that, and that's one of like the biggest points, I guess, of orcs breaking in. It's like a war zone over there, right? Rather than like just dealing with the few that turn up or fending them off from the walls. But once in a while, some will get in, like planes crashing, or like drop shipping them in and stuff like that, or some managing to climb over the walls with like siegecraft, but making laddery type shit, or climbing over all their friends' corpses and stuff. So every time anyone does get inside, other than at this main breach, a big squad of the Crimson Fists on jet bikes just rock up out of nowhere and gun them down. Yeah, it was a good strategy to just have a bunch of them on jet bikes just circling around, keeping an eye out for green fuckers. It's really lucky that the Dark Angels didn't turn up to help, because they would have just seen green and started firing at this point.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers! So the humans were doing okay at keeping the orcs back, right? They were doing okay, not amazing. They still, like, the orcs were pushing them in, but they were
holding
organized some shit. But,
holding their own for as much as that is,
as best you could do, really, in the situation given. It's a respectable effort they're putting in, right? They're doing well enough to be respected, I would say.
Yeah.
But the damage to the city by this point was so severe, like, because of the big blow in the walls and the orcs that have been drop shipping in and all this kind of stuff, and the fact that they keep bombarding the fucking place with missiles and bombs and stuff. And they also have helicopters. The orcs have helicopters, by the way. They have scrap, like, junk helicopters.
What?
Yeah, orcs have helicopters. And they keep scouting over the city, just, like, rifling shots down at people. Are you Googling orc helicopters?
Sorry, I don't know why that just caught my attention.
Yeah,
so
orc
much.
Helicopters, man. I'll edit this bit.
I want to see. Oh my god. No, I just saw that. Now, keep this in, Ryan. The people deserves.
I'll edit in a photo of the orc helicopters for everyone to see. Please, I don't have one on hand.
This in. Please edit this in. That looks like the funniest shit ever.
Send me the picture you found. I'll edit it in for everyone.
Right, it's not even a helicopter. It's like a quadcopter.
Yeah, that's the shit they build. It's a nightmare. So they have these things like strafing over the city as well, just raining gunfire down on the general populace, right? So like the humans aren't getting a break no matter what, and a lot of people have died or been injured, right? So what they obviously the worst area for this will be the commercial district where there's a big fucking hole in the wall. So what they do is all of their like indoor markets and everything get turned into like emergency triage centers, right? So they have cots all over them and or like anything they can use to lay a person down for them to have a look at them and see how bad they are, see if they need surgery, see if they just need patched up or whatever. But they're also bringing all the dead to these places, so they pretty quickly turn into triage center stroke mass morgues, which is not great, but that shows you like how much damage the orcs are doing to these people. Yeah. There is quite a fun moment where there's like the leader of the Crimson Fist defensive in this place is a man called Alvez. He is in one of these places. Captain Alvez. He's in one of these, I guess, triage center stroke morgues in one of the commercial buildings, so like a market square, basically. And he's talking to a couple of other Space Marines, and he gets word on the radio that the Devastator squads that were providing heavy fire support at the breach in the wall have to retreat. All the Space Marines that are protecting the hole in the wall are being pushed back. They have to retreat. And then suddenly they get this call that's like, shit, you need to get out of that fucking building right now, Alvez. Next time the whole wall comes down. There's tanks in the city now. Orcs have just driven their fucking tanks in. Because now they have managed to push so hard at the city's defenses at that breach in the commercial district's walls that the defenders have retreated, and now they can run in all their tanks and everything. So that whole area gets flooded by orcs that are not being stopped by anything anymore. So the whole area gets flooded by little green bastards, and now they can roll in all their heavy vehicles as well. Their tanks and everything start rolling in and destroying everything. So now there's like serious firepower inside the city that can kill Space Marines.
Oh, good.
Not a great scenario for the Crimson Fists.
No. Oh.
No. And this whole bit culminates in, like, one final, like, last situation, which I think is a pretty cool one, right? So they need to close the gates into, like, the inner cities and stuff like that, right? Into the other districts, because they can't have the Orks getting through past the commercial district. They've just accepted the shops and everything are gone. This whole area is being burnt to the ground very quickly by the Orks that are flooding in. But if they close all the gates, they can stem them here, and then they've got new walls to defend with, right? So that's their plan. And you have this moment where they're, after being, attacked by a tank, Alvez and a couple of his guys start heading towards one of the walls, or one of the gates, sorry. And Alvez is wearing Terminator armor, so he cannot move very quickly, but he is basically a walking hunk of steel, right? Very hard to kill, but he cannot outrun anything. So he orders his guys to go and close the gate. And he's like, no, I'll get through, right? We're not allowed to lose any more Space Marines, because there's only like 40 of us left after our monastery was blown up. We need all the guys we can get. I'm not going to let myself die, but you need to go get those fucking gates closed, because you can run a lot fucking faster than I can. So his guys all go and start trying to close the gates, but the machinery that closes it is broken. It's not working. So they have to push the gates shut by hand, and the gates weigh tons, like 60 tons per gate of solid metal. So they have to try and push them shut themselves. So the humans are no good. Only the Space Marines will actually do anything to this. So there's like 6 Space Marines trying to push these 2 massive gates shut together. As Alvez just stands there facing down the Orc Horde. Orc Horde. Said that backwards. And so he's standing there with like his power sword, just gutting anything that comes near him, firing off bolter rounds with the other hand, just killing anything that comes towards him. And they get the gates almost shut. So the guy radios him and he's like, where the hell are you? You need to get yourself in here. And he's like, I'm surrounded, just close the fucking gate. So Captain Alvez makes his final stand, surrounded by Orks as they close the gates behind him. And he is killed. He is overwhelmed entirely. But there's just like a mass, like, mound of dead Orc bodies around him at the end of it. It's a pretty cool last stand as far as they go.
As far as, yeah.
Yeah. So this leads to an awkward situation for the Crimson Fists, because that guy that just got murdered by like a piranha horde of Orcs was in charge of the Crimson Fists. So they don't know who's in charge anymore. And they kind of need someone in charge because they're fighting a planetary war with like 40 guys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm exaggerating. I think it's more like a couple hundred, but like you still need someone in charge to organize that.
Yeah, you will be.
Yeah. So a bunch of the ranking Marines start arguing about who's going to be in charge, right? And it's primarily a couple of guys who are in charge of crusade divisions, because they're like war leaders in this sense. So they're like, look, we are the kind of guys that should be doing this. But each one of them's arguing that they should be in charge. And then you've got other ranking Marines who are just arguing in general, right? Just joining in with the argument for adding very little. And it's just, rather than anyone giving orders, everyone's just arguing about who gets to give the orders. So
it's a pissing contest.
It's a fucking pissing contest. Which I don't know how you even have in fucking power armor. Right?
If you're stupid enough, you'll find a way, right?
That's it, but they are stupid enough. That's the problem. They're being stupid enough. It's exactly what they're being right now. This whole thing, this whole argument finally ends when a member of the Librarius, so the Psychers, the Space Marine Psychers, the ranking member of them who is alive, you gotta remember, they know that their fortress monastery is gone, and the Librarians, more than anyone else, are aware of how many people died. So this guy, being the ranking librarian in New Rynn City, has basically assumed he is the ranking member on the planet. It's So he's now essentially the head librarian. He just walks in and is like, well, you know what? I'm in charge. Fuck all of you. You're in charge of this part. You're in charge of this part. Everyone fuck off and kill some green shit. Just steps in and is like, you guys know the rule. The head of the Librarius is in charge if there is no chapter master or no one has been assigned to be in his stead. So I'm in fucking charge now. Fuck off, all of you. We like that guy. He just stepped in, took control of the situation, delegated, and sent everyone on their way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming to the kind of culmination of this. I think that'll be next episode, just because of timing wise. But it's going to be a good one. We get to see the end of Snagrod ransacking Rynn's world.
Oh.
Maybe we'll get an update on how many random humans Pedro Cantor can drag along with him for no reason. Oh, God. He's got a little crew of orphans following him now. Yeah, I think that'll do us for today. If you'd like to round out.
I sure can do. So thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Iterators of the Imperium podcast. We really hope you guys are enjoying the Orc Talk. Orc Talk. Sorry. We will see you next time. Take care and peace.
Bye.